Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today, we're doing something quite specific. We've got a collection of sources stories you might know. Maupassant, Kafka, all focusing on these intense moments of crisis, personal, social, exploring that exact instant reality just shatters.
Exactly. We're not looking at a slow burn here. This is about the moment someone's world, maybe built on duty or reputation or even denial, just gets obliterated instantly by something absurd, maybe something inexplicable or, deeply shameful.
The shattering of the facade, as you put it. Sudden, no going back.
That's the core idea, and it's always sudden.
And I suppose the classic, maybe the most iconic example of that immediate collapse has to be Gregor Samsa, waking up as a giant insect in Metamorphosis.
Oh, absolutely.
What's really striking is how this huge biological absurdity clashes, like immediately with the most mundane thing ever.
Yeah.
Getting to work on time.
It's just the ultimate critique of how work can dehumanize us, isn't it? Gregor's first thoughts. He's got this rigid back, these weird little legs waving around. It's not, oh my God, what am I? It's anxiety. Anxiety about missing the 6:45 train.
His whole identity is just his job.
Completely. His existence is his economic output, this new reality. His voice is just this awful whining sound. His words barely make sense. But all that has to take a backseat to the clock.
And the office. No sympathy there.
Right.
By 7:45, the manager himself shows up.
Right. And Gregor knows he works for the kind of company where the worst was suspected at the slightest inadvertence. The manager being there isn't concerned.
It's suspicion.
It signals the company view. You deviate. You're not sick. You're a slacker.
A scoundrel. The irony is just brutal. And the family's reaction, it's immediately about the money, isn't it? They're terrified of the financial hit.
They don't see the creature. They see the debt he represents. Even his struggle just to get out of bed. It's described in such physical detail, the rocking back and forth.
But what's he afraid of?
Yeah.
Not the pain, really.
No, it's the noise. The loud thud if he falls. That noise would shatter the illusion of normalcy for the family, cause terror, or at the very least uneasiness. It's all about maintaining that front.
And when that door finally opens, even just a crack, the family dynamic just fractures on the spot.
Instantly. The mother tries to defend him, but listen to how she does it.
Right, he's a good worker, never goes out, does fretwork in his spare time.
Basically, he's harmless, devoted to keeping things exactly as they are. He doesn't rock the boat.
But the father, now that he might have to be the provider again, he shifts.
Oh, he shifts hard to just raw physical aggression. Gregor gets stuck in the doorway for a second, and the father grabs the manager's walking stick, a newspaper.
And literally beats him back into the room.
Whistling and whooping like a savage, the text says. Gregor gets hurt, jammed, leaves these horrible brown stains on his side. The duty he performed, gone, instantly replaced by this urge to just get rid of the problem, the economic burden.
So, if Gregor's crisis was this internal absurdity hitting external demands, let's talk about the power of external judgment. How society just decides your story, true or not.
We move from the failure of the work system to maybe the failure of reputation.
Which brings us to Maître Hochkorn, the folly of the string.
Right, this Maupassant story, it's so cynical about public perception, really. Hochkorn, he's got rheumatism. He's described as having this Norman frugality. Sees a little piece of string on the road.
Just string.
Just string. And he picks it up, tries to hide it because, well, thrift. It's a tiny, totally harmless act, saving something reusable.
But someone sees him, his enemy, Maître Melandin.
And that tiny act gets weaponized instantly. Melandin claims Hochkorn must have been picking up the lost black letter pocketbook, the one with 500 francs.
And the truth just doesn't matter after that, does it?
Not at all. That's the core insight here. Hochkorn gets hauled before the mayor. He protests. He shows them the actual string. This worthless bit of cord.
But they've already decided.
They've decided. He's an old rascal. The convenient narrative sticks, and they just refuse to believe him.
It gets even worse, though. The pocketbook is found. Someone else returns it.
Marius Palmel, yeah. But does the town admit they were wrong?
No way.
No, they just double down. They decide Hochkorn must have gotten Palmel to return it for him. A Confederate, just to save face. He's completely trapped by their perception.
That's awful.
He's just consumed by it, trying to prove his honesty against this wall of cynicism. He wastes away, obsessed, apparently dying in delirium, still muttering.
A piece of string. A piece of string.
His reputation was his facade. Once that shattered, even the truth couldn't save him.
That power of external judgment, it flows right into maybe an even greater power.
Yeah.
Self-inflicted shame. Which takes us to Matilda Loisel in The Necklace.
Ah, yes. Very different motivation here. Not frugality, but vanity.
She feels born for all delicacies and luxuries, right? But she's living this shabby life, and she desperately wants a jewel for this fancy minister's ball.
So she borrows one, what she thinks is a priceless diamond necklace.
And she gets her moment. One night of feeling adored, beautiful, the center of attention.
A single moment of vanity fulfilled.
Yeah.
But then the necklace is lost.
Hmm.
And the price for that one night is just immense.
10 years. A decade of what the story calls the horrible life of necessity.
They borrow ruinously, mortgage everything, sacrifice their entire lives to buy a replacement. An imitation, sure, but it still costs a staggering 36,000 francs.
You have to wonder, was there ever a point where just confessing, facing that initial shame, would have been less costly than the cover-up?
Financially, maybe, but psychologically, probably not for Loisel. The shame of exposure, admitting she lost it, admitting her desperation, that felt like a bigger threat than ruin.
So she chose the lie.
She chose to sustain the lie.
Yeah.
And it cost her 10 years, aged her, hardened her, made her unrecognizable.
And then the twist, the final brutal irony. She finally tells her friend, Madame Forestier, years later.
And Forestier just drops the bomb. The original necklace, it was false. It was worth, at the very most, 500 francs.
All that suffering, the debt, the lost youth for a cheap fake.
The cost of maintaining that initial facade, her vanity, was the complete destruction of her real life. The lie became her reality.
Okay, so let's shift gears a bit. We've seen people crushed by circumstance or judgment. What about those who deliberately choose to shatter the facade, to find some kind of liberation in it?
Right, a conscious choice. Let's start with Madame de Courcelles and her posthumous revolt.
Her life sounds like absolute misery. A martyrdom, the source calls it. Her husband was cruel, constantly unfaithful, sleeping with servants, tenants' wives.
And she suffered silently, timidly. But that silence wasn't passive. She was planning one final, radical act of independence. Her will.
And when that will is read, it's explosive. A declaration of war, really.
It is. She starts by forgiving him. I forgive him, but I owe him nothing. But the real venom is for her elder sons, the ungrateful ones. She formally severs the ties of blood, says those ties cannot exist without daily and constant affection. Ouch.
Brutal. But then the big reveal.
The truth bomb. René, the younger son, the one who actually loved her. He's the son of her lover, Mzu de Berneval.
And she justifies it, calls the affair a solace against her husband's oppression, his shameful prejudices. She uses her death to shatter her own reputation publicly, just to destroy his pride.
And the cost of that truth is immediate and fatal.
Her husband challenges Berneval to a duel.
And Berneval kills him. Her confession from beyond the grave was a calculated, lethal weapon. Justice finally delivered.
Wow. That's Now, contrast that with the Countess de Salure. She also faces infidelity. But her approach to shattering the marital facade is, well, different.
Very different. Not death, but cold, hard financial logic. Her husband had cheated, justified it by saying marriage between intelligent people is just a social bond, not really a moral one.
So when he tries to get possessive again later, she basically throws his own philosophy back at him.
Exactly. She adopts his logic completely. She's not looking for romance or apologies. Yeah. She sees a transaction. She confronts his hypocrisy and says, okay, fine, I'll find a lover. Unless you want to pay for my affection.
She literally sets a price.
5,000 francs a month. It's this devastating piece of rationalization. She fully adopts the capitalist view of their relationship. She even argues it's kind of funny, amusing even, for an intelligent man to pay his own wife, especially since, as she puts it, he never really loves anything unless it costs him a lot of money.
And he pays. He actually pays more, 6,000 francs.
Which cements their new deal, purely transactional.
But is that really liberation? Or is it just trading one kind of prison for another, a more clinical one?
That's the question, isn't it? It feels like clinical oppression disguised as liberation. She ditched the facade of romantic love, sure, but replaced it with the equally rigid facade of a business contract.
She gets control, but
only by defining herself as a commodity. She's financially secure, maybe, but emotionally, it seems like she just negotiated a better price for her own misery.
That kind of forced emotional isolation, it feels like a path towards breakdown, which sets up Ulrich Kunze perfectly, wintering alone in that Alpine inn, Schwarenbach.
Oh, the solitude there is just crushing. 5,000 feet up, trapped by snow. When the old guide, Gaspard Hari, vanishes, Ulrich is completely, utterly alone. There's no facade left to maintain because there's no one else there.
And his mind just starts to unravel. It starts when he hears his name called out, right? Ulrich.
2 nights in a row, in that immense silence, he convinces himself it's Hari's ghost, his voiceless soul, this invisible presence. It pushes him over the edge. He has no one, nothing to check his reality against.
And his final act, building a fortress.
Against the void, essentially, barricading the indoors, the windows, using mattresses, chairs, even the heavy oak sideboard, sealing himself off from whatever's haunting him outside, howling back at it.
Which is complete psychological collapse.
Total unraveling. When help finally gets there in the spring, he's found mad, speechless.
That terror of isolation, the mind feeding on itself. It makes me think of the ultimate collective shattering of the facade. That story, the cemetery.
Ah, yes, where the narrator sees the dead rise at night.
And what do?
They erase their own gravestones, scrape off all the lies the living put their kind and honorable, faithful wife, good father, all the standard tributes.
And they replace them with the truth?
The terrible and holy truth, as the story calls it. Confessions of their real lives, robbery, cruelty to family, deception, disgrace, all of it laid bare.
It confirms that the facade wasn't just individual, it was universal. The whole community lived behind these polished lies, only revealed in death.
Which in a way brings us right back to Gregor Samsa and the final, quiet cruelty of his family.
After months of him suffering alone in that room, the charwoman finds his body, flat, dry.
And her announcement is just chillingly blunt. He's stone dead. He's lying there absolutely dead as a doornail.
And the father's response, no pretense, no grief.
Just, we can thank God for that.
The obstacle is gone. The disgusting, inconvenient thing is removed.
And the relief is immediate, tangible. They plan a walk, talk about moving somewhere smaller, cheaper. They notice Greet, the sister, has suddenly blossomed into a fine, strapping girl.
Ready for marriage. Ready to replace Gregor's economic function, essentially.
His death is their liberation. Their life can finally begin again, now that the burden is lifted.
So looking back across all these sources, what really stands out is the sheer energy it takes. Not to face the crisis, but just to keep the lie going.
Absolutely. The devastating effort needed to sustain that social facade, whether it is Matilda Loisel's 10 years of backbreaking labor, or Hashikorn's desperate, doomed fight for his reputation, or even those collective lies carved onto tombstones.
It requires constant, exhausting maintenance. And when it does shatter, the result is almost always immediate, often violent, often deeply selfish.
And you see how every single one of these characters, in their moment of crisis, is forced to confront the value placed on their image versus their actual self, their actual suffering.
And the consequences of that mask finally dropping seem to be either, well, madness and isolation, like Ulrich,
or this really twisted kind of liberation, like the Countess, gained only by swapping one kind of contract, the emotional one, for another, like a financial or legal one.
It's a sobering thought, really.
Yeah.
The biggest crises often aren't the obvious external ones. They're the internal ones, built on that fear of exposure. The moment the mask slips, consequences follow. Or sometimes, yeah, that warped liberation.
So maybe think about the cost of silence versus the cost of truth. Gregor was silent, and his death brought his family this cold, heartless relief. But Madame de Courcelles, she broke her silence, even after death, and that radical truth led directly to the death of her abuser.
It makes you wonder, doesn't it? Think about the pressure today, maintaining that perfect online persona. Maybe Matilda Loisel's 10 years of debt isn't so far off from the cost of modern reputation management, which carries more weight in the face of suffering silence or shouting the truth no matter the cost. That's something for you to mull over.